into game number 1. Steadfast, who's our first player?
Oh, well, we have spawning up in the top right position. It is the Blue Zerg player from Psystorm Gaming. Give it up for JonSnow.
And his opponent in the bottom left-hand side in the red, representing Team Exxon and the US of A. Her name is Nina. Oh, Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, yes, it is. And she is an exciting player, really been, has a lot of fun with the game, I would say. And that's something that's nice to see, you know?
Oh, yeah, no question. If you watch Nina's streams, which, again, I highly encourage you to do, she's phenomenal. But she is just so positive, and it's funny because she's a little bit quieter than most streamers. Like, I'm used to watching M. Canning or, like, Rotterdam, you know, like, laughing and yelling and all that, which is excellent, and I love that sort of entertainment. But Nina's streams are always so chill, and she's always so relaxed, and, like, when she loses, she just pops open the replay and very calmly goes through, okay, I see what happened here, my disruptor wasn't in the right place, gotta fix that for next time, okay, let's hit it next stream. She has so much discipline as a pro gamer, and I'm really excited to see if it pays off for her here in the first series of the day. She's been practicing so hard, and I'm sure she knows JonSnow in and out. They must bump into each other on the ladder all the time. Very standard openings, though, so far. It looks like Nexus down, rather, after a Cyclone. Oh my gosh, let me start all over again. Nexus down after Cybercore, and we've got that hatch gas pool for JonSnow. Ooh, he looks like he's going for a very early third base here, Steadfast.
Yeah, that 20 supply third hatch is, you know, it's not that different one way or the other. Of course, you get that faster creep spread. You can go up into a faster queen. It does cost you sometimes, you know, your speed timing. It can cost you production on queens, as we can see. JonSnow can only afford one at a time, but it's kind of just a stylistic choice as you make up for that larva a little bit later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple queens popping out right away, and JonSnow seems to be in a pretty good position. Nina going for Stargate Opener, which is just so common as to be almost ubiquitous now in the ZVP matchup. Now, Steadfast, you've played a lot against a lot of Stargate Openers, I'm sure. What is it about the Stargate Opener that's just so powerful these days against Zerg players?
Well, for a very long time, of course, you get that early Oracle, gives you the potential to, you know, pick off some drones early on. Of course, Zerg players have gotten better against that, but it's still a consistent way to play. It provides you a lot of strong defensive utility. You can get a Phoenix out early on to pick off Overlords, but what has really made the Stargate Opener shine recently is the addition of that Void Ray buff. It has really, the reduction in cost, the increase in speed, it has made it just so powerful to go for that Stargate Opener. And we're seeing a lot of players go for things like, you know, they'll go for a single Void Ray to hunt Overlords and a little bit of harassment. And some of them are starting to go for double Stargate and like 6 Void Rays. Some of them will go for triple Stargate. We are seeing a lot of new builds coming out in the Protoss arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, it's not even just Stargate, you know. There are so many transitions out of Stargate play as well. So if Nina is unable to get any damage done with the initial Oracle, we already see those spores going down, of course, for JonSnow. It's very easy now for Protoss players to transition into something a bit more dangerous after that, right? They can easily go for the Robo Bay, Twilight Council, go Adepts, go Blink Stalker, go Charge Lot. Really anything you want to follow up with can be pretty viable in today's PvZ. So Nina still looks like she's in pretty good shape, but so far, JonSnow has read this very well, and I think defending with exactly what he needs to defend with.
I would say so. Nina has found a couple of holes. Ooh, nice snipe on that larva right there. And, oh, looks like she missed targets a little bit, but I think she would have only gotten one shot anyways. So it didn't really matter that she wasn't able to get the drone kill there. But that's still a nice little start. One drone getting picked off with that Adept, one drone getting picked off with that Oracle, and you keep it alive. And now there's 2, and she can potentially one-tap drones.
Yeah, that's such a big power spike in this game. It's so funny because StarCraft very rarely has power spikes, but the few that exist are abused all to heck. The difference between 1 Oracle and 2 Oracles is like, it feels like more than 100% difference, right? Because they can, as you said, it just takes 2 basically Oracle shots to kill off a drone. So Nina's able to get in here and without too much commitment, able to pick off 5 drones and still keep both those Oracle alive. Of course, Oracle's so valuable in the mid game, so valuable in the late game, you just don't want to lose them. And even that Phoenix getting a kill, very nicely done here by Nina. Steadfast, do you expect her to keep producing units out of that Stargate, or do you think she's going to go ahead and transition now into this full Robo and Gateway build?
Yeah, I think she's going to transition. And yeah, with that Twilight and Forge coming down, usually that is the universal Protoss sign for I want a macro game. If they could have that little clap emoji, that's what it would mean. Ooh, these oracles will take a little bit of damage. Looks like they were going to go for the creep tumor there maybe, but not going to do that. Ooh, nice drone pull from JonSnow right there. But he is a fair bit behind in supply right now.
Yeah, that's actually a little surprising. You know, you expect to see a lot of drones out for the Zerg player, and we can see JonSnow, of course, that yellow number down at the bottom, showing that he's just barely even on drones right now. Now, Steadfast, the lair is finished up. +1 missile attacks is on the way, as is Roach speed. Do you see JonSnow going all in here, or is this 4th base indicative that this is just going to be a timing push, and he's not all in with this Roach push?
To be honest, I was wondering if he was going to go for an all-in, and I still am wondering that. It looks like maybe he built a couple extra drones, but I think that was just to potentially replenish, and I think that 4th base is a little bit of a fake out here, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I think we're going to be seeing a pretty aggressive push here. Part of the reason we saw JonSnow kind of falling behind in supply is he was banking money right there, banking larva, and, well, Nina's no fool. She notices that. She's going to notice that larva was not being spent. Ooh, 4 Adept hit squad on the left side of the map.
Yeah, this is great. This little counter punch, this little kidney shot from Nina on the far west side could do some pretty good damage. Luckily, some Roaches and Lings already rotating around to deal with it, but this is the kind of problem that a lot of Protoss players cause against their Zerg opponents, which is they can sneak in with just a very, very small investment, a handful of Adepts, only 4 Adepts going down, and they'll trade out 4 Adepts for 3 drones. Honestly, probably well worth it, Steadfast. I think that many drones at this point in the game, not bad at all. Of course, JonSnow doesn't really care. He's on 51 drones. He's making 12 Roaches at a time. His full Roach count is now 21. He's losing a few somewhere on the map, but he's going ahead and pushing across here. Now that missile attacks is finished up, as is Roach speed, Nina has to defend it. If we go ahead and check Nina's defense at the 3rd base, is she ready for this one?
She does have 3 shield batteries up, and her gateways are coming online. Charge nearly done, +1 attack nearly done, but she is just a little bit away from being optimally defended. And I really like this this stasis ward setup. Oh, doesn't go down, but some beautiful force fields here. Will segment off a couple of these Ravagers. She is down 50 army supply, and this is going to be pretty tough. Battery overcharge popped pretty early on, and JonSnow is doing a good job of kind of forcing pressure very early on.
Yeah, this is definitely not what Nina was hoping for, right? Didn't want to have to make that many gateway units early. And if we look at her structures tab, we can see she's only on 6 gates on 3 bases. She's about 2 gates behind where she needs to be with those 2 extra gates coming in. Normally, of course, I say that when a Protoss player has Immortals, they have hope. But right now, it looks like this might be just the exact timing that JonSnow needs to get in and do some real damage. 16 probes have gone down, so the probe count now fairly even. Even if Nina cleans this up, I'd say this is at least a moderate push from JonSnow. Not a win, not a loss, but not bad either way.
I would say that was pretty successful for him, to be honest. Considering the fact that there was so many shield batteries left, there was a good amount of Immortals, that went pretty well for him. Now, there was a very important moment where that Oracle stayed alive with 9 HP and took out the Queen. Roaches will try and pop in and pick off some Archons, but yeah, that was a little bit ill-advised, maybe. And JonSnow gets a little bit of a bloody nose, kind of loses some of that advantage. But that Oracle staying alive actually made a big difference. Could have allowed it to just gun down Roaches and Ravagers, specifically Ravagers. And JonSnow, he originally, I would say, had a pretty decent shot of ending the game, but those Queens going down just before the Oracle, that really helped Nina stabilize there.
It's always the little things I find in PvZ. It's the one unit that stays alive. It's the one missed target firing. It always seems to be something so tiny when players this good engage with each other. And now we can see, of course, Nina does have a little bit more initiative on the other side of the map. She's able to do a little bit more damage because of that Oracle and those Phoenix that did live. She trades away the Oracle for a Queen and a handful of drones. At this point, Steadfast, do you still want that Oracle on the map, or is she probably okay to trade it away?
I mean, the utility an Oracle provides is just immeasurable. Like, the ability to throw down Revelations, the ability to cast Stasis Wards. Obviously, we're past the point where, you know, she needed that to survive the All-In. But just having it at any given point is so nice. But it looks like she is going to try and hit a timing here as Storm completes. And, well, JonSnow, I don't know, this could be a little bit tough. This is a little bit of a tight position for him.
Yeah, this is a very interesting engagement here. Obviously, Nina is a little bit behind in army supply, but her army value is actually slightly higher than JonSnow's. And with those storms coming out, she should be able to drive JonSnow not just out of position, but also get some damage done. Oh, nice catch on the Immortal there. That's a free kill for JonSnow, who's going to weaken Nina's army just a little bit, but Nina going to go ahead and engage with the roaches in the backside. It looks like JonSnow does want to flank here, though, and even though there's a storm on the north flank, there's nothing on the south side here to deal with it. Let's see if Nina can get some damage done. All the Templar on the north flank right now. That south side doing great damage, but is JonSnow eating too many storms here, Steadfast?
I don't think so. At first, it looked like maybe that was the case. Oh, well, Nina may be able to fight her way out, but it is going to be one of those kind of, oh, no, it's not going to be at what cost. There's a lot of Archons up here.
Wow.
Man, where did those come from? Those must have been morphed in from the High Templar.
Yes. Definitely were. Those High Templar got rid of their storms and turned straight into Archons here. That means that Nina was able to win the fight on the north flank, even though the south flank was a bit of a draw. So when you split your army into two flanks like that, you really have to make sure as a Zerg player, you've got enough to overrun the entire Protoss army, because I'm sure, Steadfast, you've done this a million times, where you run in an army on either side, but there's just not quite enough power on either side to overpower the clump of Protoss units in the middle. And now Nina sets herself up for a very scary push into the third.
I just heard overpowered Protoss units, and that's all I heard right there. Some nice storms coming in from Nina, really hitting home on these roaches and Hydras, and I think Nina has broken through JonSnow. Just those very squishy Hydras remain. Where is the War Prism, though? It is... Did it go down?
Nope, War Prism still is there. It's just
wow, okay.
way out of position there. Really
way
rough,
far back.
Yeah, really rough opener there for Nina. She needs to get that War Prism in position, but right now I think she's just concerned about getting it close enough to those Hydralisks. And a bit of a pause in my game. I hope yours is still fine, Steadfast.
Mine is still fine.
Okay, great. It's just mine then. That's no problem. JonSnow paused the game and then left. Oof. Nina gonna grab that GG in game number 1. What a good timing push there from Nina, Steadfast. She really nailed exactly where she needed to be, came out with those Archons and Immortals, and just made it work. Did you see anything that our boy JonSnow could improve on for the next game? Anything that he could really ramp up?
Well, I will say that it was a little bit of an overcommitment when he kind of tried to pop back in with those roaches after the first attack. The first attack, I would say, was pretty successful. Nina did a good job of holding on, like a really good job. That would have killed most players, to be honest. But yeah, I would say maybe just kind of popping back in with those roaches was a little bit unfortunate. He kind of lost maybe 4 or 5 for free. Which isn't a lot, but, that is 4 or 5 roaches that you don't have later on.
Sure.
And then there was something really interesting is that Nina was really kind of blind countering a Muta transition. She went up to 4 Phoenixes. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that's a little bit of a meta play right there. Like, JonSnow, very well known for his Muta transitions, especially in ZVP. So, yeah, just a really interesting maneuver there. And she was still able to get a little bit of value out of that, picking off a couple of queens, kind of disabling units in the middle of fights. But yeah, kind of good on JonSnow for not, I guess, playing too much into his image.
Yes, we said at the very beginning of the cast, these are players who probably bump up against each other on the NA ladder once a day at least, if not more. There's got to be a lot of mind games going on. And of course, these groups were announced, I think, a week ago. So these players have now had 7 days to prepare for their first opponent, maybe more than that. I think they were on some Monday, and today's Tuesday. So I think they've had 8 days now to prepare for the next opponent. So there has been plenty of time for the players to prep something and get ready for this first game. It's a big difference to what we normally see in tournaments, which is where, in a bracket stage, for example, you can't prepare really for who comes next. But since the DreamHack is spread out over so much time, these players are able to prep for their opponents. And I'm a little curious, actually, who Nina's next opponent is. Nina also plays... Oh, Pili after this. Okay, so she said to prep for a PvZ and a PvP. And JonSnow has Vindicta after this, so it's a ZVP and a ZVT for him. So both players prepping for different matches than they initially expected.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing to go up against. Very different breed of PvP. Pili is he is kind of a PvP master, I would say, a little bit. Really knows his stuff and really can make his opponents kind of I guess second guess themselves in the matchup.
Sure.
He has a lot of builds that are very different from the meta. He likes to do for a lot of sentry and adept pushes, so it's not just a matter of, I'm going to practice against Protoss. It's kind of like I have to practice specifically for Peely Peely. Like
Yes.
PvP is Protoss versus Peely Peely in this case.
It's like anytime you cast EU and you're like, it's against Goblin. It doesn't count. It's not a real PvP. It's a PvG. It's a PV Goblin. So similar sort of thing here. Players ready to go, though, on our next map, Juggernaut LE. One of the largest maps in the pool now. Now, we've heard a lot of murmurings since this map entered the pool that it's Zerganatha, and it's the players, it's so Zerg favored. As a Zerg player, Steadfast, do you agree with that assessment? Is this map just egregiously a Zerg favored matchup?
I plead the fifth. I haven't honestly played enough myself. I'm not particularly fond of it. There is a really kind of awkward timing before the fourth base is secured for Protoss, where it does get a little bit tricky. But I feel like there's a lot of ramps, there's a lot of tight chokes. There's kind of a trappy base in the bottom right and top left. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on.
Yeah, sure. Always good to go over the map a little bit. Before we introduce the players, I do just want to ask, Steadfast, you're Canadian, right?
Oh, I sure am.
Do you have a Canadian equivalent of I plead the fifth? Because that's an American thing.
I guess it would be, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. That sounds legally sound. I just wanted to check and see if there was some equivalent. Let's introduce our players, and then I'll let you talk a little more about the map, Steadfast. Spawning in the bottom left-hand side of Juggernaut LE, we have got our blue Zerg player from Psy Storm Gaming. His name is JonSnow.
And his opponent spawning up in the top right, it is the Red Phenom from my team, Exxon.
Hey.
Give it up for Nina. Looking to close the series out.
Yeah, Nina wants to start off strong. As we always say, there are 7 matches total that'll be played by each player. Of course, groups of 8, round-robin groups. So 7 matches total, and starting off with a 1-0, it just feels so dang good, so much better than 0-1. Obviously, there's a lot of StarCraft to play after this, and nothing is ultimately decided. But a huge difference between starting off with a win and starting with the loss, just psychologically. Now, Steadfast, you were telling us a little earlier about some of the unique features of Juggernaut. I think most people probably know about the speed zones in the middle of the map and maybe the layout of some of these bases, but what do you as a Zerg player really pay attention to when you get queued up against a Protoss on Juggernaut?
So I mentioned it a little bit earlier. There, of course, anytime there's rocks on a map, as Zerg, you want to get those knocked down as quickly as possible. Now, a lot of times, that doesn't necessarily come up, but anytime you can create more opportunities to flank, more opportunities to run by, always a good thing for you. So that's kind of a priority for you. But something to watch for is this fourth base location. So I kind of talked about it before it's set up. There's a really kind of awkward scenario where until there's a lot of static defense or, Storm or Disruptors or Colossus, some kind of splash damage, getting flanked and kind of collapsed on from these 2 angles can be really difficult to deal with. Similar on this third base here, kind of a lot of wide open areas. Now, if you can secure them, kind of get a position where you can, have an observer tracking the Zerg army, or you always know where it is with a revelation, something like that, you can always position yourself at the top of a ramp, except for this location. There are 3 ramps going in, and it's just this one that's still a relatively small choke.
Right. Oh, interesting.
So there's a lot of very important positions a little bit outwards from the potential Protoss third, fourth bases that are really important positions.
That's great map analysis, Steadfast. It's something I really miss because I don't play Zerg on a quite as a competitive level as you do. So it's really nice to get a good beat on what's important on these maps and what players are really going to be looking for as they look to expand economically, for sure. We see again Nina starting with that Stargate opener. Oracle coming out first this time. No surprises here that Nina's going for something similar. Nice little catch there by JonSnow, though, is actually going to sneak down one of those Adepts, and Nina's not going to get anything for her troubles there. Good little opener there for JonSnow. Always feels good to catch that first Adept.
Yeah, that was really nice. Not only did he get the first Adept, he only had to build 1 Spore Crawler, which he wants anyways.
Yeah.
So it ends up being not even having to cancel that, and that's just really nice. Now he kind of has these leftover lings that they're going to be able to cause a little bit of a fit at this third base as Nina may try and take that in the near future.
Yeah, good positioning for you from JonSnow. Even if they abandon that third base and move on into the natural, still could be some nice pressure from JonSnow. And something I really like to see is a Zerg player who feels very comfortable cranking out a couple extra lings early on and just knowing that their economy will catch up eventually. It always feels so good to be able to do something like this, right? Get on top of these adepts, put some pressure, preferably, of course, getting that probe for the third base, and it looks like only one adept can go down. The third base will go down. But now JonSnow actually does know the timing of that third base. Steadfast, does it make more sense for JonSnow to try and pressure that third base with a lot of lings, or to do what he's doing now and go for the Roach Warren with likely Roach speed on the way after this? How do you feel about this position?
I think with the number of oracles on the map, none of them have suffered hull damage. I think it's a better idea to just kind of play out a normal game as opposed to trying to go for, you know, any cancel on that. Now, I honestly, I would have much preferred to see him go for the probe in that position, keep those lings live, and then just kind of set up in this really uncomfortable position for the Protoss player between those two bases. Oh, wow.
And force him to bring Zealots out, force him to warp in more adepts so they can escort that probe over to the third base and slow it down. You're absolutely right. As it is, though, Nina's able to get that third base down in pretty good time, and wow, getting some unbelievable damage here with this. Is this just 2 adepts?
Yeah, 8 drones gonna go down to just a 2 adept run by. I wasn't even paying attention because the oracles were on the other side of the map, and neither was JonSnow. He was caught snoozing.
Oh, caught snoozing indeed. Now the oracles are gonna pop back in. Do they spot this spire? Oh, it's so close. It's so close. They're gonna see it, of course they are. Great scouts here from Nina, and JonSnow is just blunder. I feel like he's like who's the character in The Simpsons that just steps on all the rakes? Is it Krusty the Clown? I feel like he's just stepping on rake after rake, just getting hit with bad luck after bad luck here. Nina truly covering all of her bases, literally and figuratively here. 5, make it 6 gates on the way for Nina. It looks like we see our Protoss player queuing up for a pretty strong timing here. If she hits before that spire goes down, JonSnow could be in some real trouble, Steadfast.
Yeah, that could be pretty tough. Now, it is, in fact, Sideshow Bob or...
Sideshow Bob. That's it.
Dr. Fraser Crane, if I may.
That's the one. Yes. I knew it. Oh, Kelsey Grammer. We love you so much. My favorite Kelsey Grammer role, by the way, he once guest starred in an episode of 30 Rock where he pulls off a scam by cheating on an ice cream cake company to get more money for like ordering fake ice cream cakes. It's amazing. He's just like the weirdest villain ever, and he makes, you know, $200 and he's like, yeah. It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, good pressure here from Nina.
Speaking of weirdest villains, we have the weirdest push right now.
Yeah.
3 Zealots, 4 Sentries, and an Immortal just leveraging these force fields and picks off 7 drones and forces out a bunch of units. This was such a good push for Nina. It feels so risky on paper, but because of the early damage she done, she knew that JonSnow was really holding down that drone button. He didn't really notice the push moving out, and I think if he had, maybe she doesn't commit, but, you know, she sees that she doesn't get scouted on the way. No Ling or anything sees her. This Ling here was a little bit late to be in position. And as a result, she ends up, you know, very small committal, maybe 5 force fields and 3 Zealots go down, and she kills off a bunch of drones. That's just really nice play from Nina.
Yeah, she set herself up so well for that. Floated a bit of minerals before that so she'd get the round of warp-ins just as it happened. Really nice pressure, and as you said, nothing there to scout it. Nina's done a pretty darn good job of taking down some creep tumors early in the game, which is really hamstrung JonSnow's ability to spread that creep. As I say, he spreads creep at his main base, but it really hamstrung his ability to spread creep most of the game. So we're 8 minutes in, and JonSnow's barely halfway across the map, barely a third of the way across the map right now with his creep spread. Now, a little bit of an overextension from Nina here. We'll lose the Oracle. Phoenix stay alive, though, but honestly, behind this, Nina looks like gravy. I mean, Storm on the way, +1 about to finish. Archon's coming out, more gates getting added on. The Protoss is just building everything they could possibly need to fight against this Hydralisk army. Steadfast, does JonSnow go for lurkers here, or does he stay on Lingbane Hydra?
I think he stays on Hydra Lingbane, and, well, I don't think he's going to have time for lurkers right now. There is a very frightening attack coming his way. Bane speed not done. Barely any Banes on the map. Oof. Hydra speed is just now coming online. And, well, this is going to be a really, really tough hold. But, oh, my God. 2 of the most cost-efficient Banelings right there. Splashing all over those Zealots. But still, these force fields are devastating with the Storm combo. But still, this is a really big concave for JonSnow. And Nina has to be very, very careful.
Yeah, very, very careful indeed. In fact, look at the units tab. We'll see that Warp Prism again from Nina, just so far away from the action, not even there to reinforce, which means that Nina's not able to keep that pressure on any longer. Gotta retreat back here, warp in some more units, and make use of the gateways that she's just finished up. So a bit of a great attack there, actually, for JonSnow. As you said, that concave, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
And now that buys him time for Bane speed to be done. He still has a good amount of creep. The only place where there's not is pushing into that large concave at the 4th base. Oh, Nina is retreating back up the ramp. Banelings almost connect on top of those High Templar. Does pick off one of them, almost gets a second, but not quite. And Nina, I think she has hit the point of overstaying her welcome.
Yeah, she's getting very close to that. JonSnow, though, losing a lot of Hydras on the north flank there. The south flank getting destroyed as well. And yeah, I think if we look at the army value, we'll see that Nina's actually in a great spot here. Not just with the storms, but the Archons, charge lots, everything seems to be custom built to rip JonSnow apart. Drones pulled off the lines, but it's not going to be enough steadfast. GG! And